All right, everybody, it's XCub time.
No, hold on. First of all, we want to apologize to everybody who's been following us on this XCub project. We're sorry that it's been taking so long, and we want to say thank you for everybody who's been watching and following us.
Yeah, this was a way bigger airplane project than we thought. It's our first gas engine. I know we've said it a couple times, but we kind of underestimated how many steps there really are, and we're having a blast building this thing, but you know, just life got in the way.
Yeah, we got sick at the beginning of summer.
Yeah, we got COVID at the beginning of summer. We were both really sick for a while, and then we've just been working a ton of overtime, like 84-hour work weeks. So it's just basically we had no time to be filming any videos, which we're really bummed about. And like Mary said, we're really sorry for everybody that's been kind of waiting for this next step.
Yeah. But we're excited to restart this.
Yeah.
So we made time now. We're everything's calming down.
Yeah, everything's calming down. We're finally ready to continue on. And hopefully we can get this XCub finished up and up in the air, guys. So you ready to continue on, Mary?
Yep.
All right. Let's do this. Let's build the XCub. So last video we left off with, we kind of pretty much got the engine all mounted up, and we realized that our gas tank was too big. So we do have a new one. So we had to get a little smaller one. So I believe this is a 16 ounce. It's still Valley View, so these are great fuel tanks, but this one fits a lot better. So right now we're gonna pull the engine back out and mount the fuel tank up, get all the fuel lines plumbed up. Let's get her out. All right, so here's our engine assembly. It's kind of cool, kind of a cool design. You can just, you know, pull it out, work on your fuel tank or whatever. So here's our choke and our throttle rod, of course. That's what those are. So we'll just kind of be careful with that. When we ordered our fuel tank, we also ordered some Jabro 1/4 inch foam rubber padding for the fuel tank. So this is good for mounting fuel tanks, reduces vibrations. Going right up against there. You got some room for the straps to poke through. So we'll just do a quick test fit. Oh, that's right. I remember we have the
Dremel.
Yeah.
Thing.
So we got to Dremel out a little kind of a groove or a notch right there because the cap hits. See?
Yeah.
So I actually do remember marking it on the other side. You can kind of see where I marked it.
Yep.
All right, so we got our Dremel with a little sanding drum on here, and I'm gonna slowly just kind of curve away here, just enough for the cap to get a little clearance so it's not shattering against the engine mount. All right, so we got that little notch cut out in the firewall for the cap, so the cap was just hitting a little bit. You can see we made just a little relief cut. So now it kind of goes in there, and with the foam pad, gives it perfect clearance. We're gonna start running some fuel lines. So we got our Tygon fuel line. We got some Jabro fuel clips. I know there's a ton of different ways to do this. Some people use zip ties. Some people actually use more fuel line and actually stretch it out. But we're gonna use the Jabro fuel clips. We have a fuel dot. Now I don't know exactly where I'm gonna put this yet. I don't even know if I want to put I don't even know if I wanna put a hole in the side of the airplane yet. I don't know, so. But we do have this, so we'll plug up the vent line. Basically, we just gotta run a fuel supply line from here to the carburetor. This is our vent line. We're gonna loop it around the back through the Velcro straps, and the vent line is gonna come out the bottom of the airplane. And then this one is the fuel dot. So basically your fill, you know, how you fill the tank. All right, so let's start measuring out some lines.
Lines. Okay.
All right, everybody, so we had a lot of off camera just running fuel line and kind of laying out wires, but check it out, this is what we got. So you can see we got the fuel tank all plumbed up. The smaller fuel tank works awesome. You know, typical kind of setup. You got the vent line looping around the back, and it's just hanging out the bottom. So this is gonna hang out the bottom of the cowl. Might trim it up, you know, the final product. And then right here is our fill line. You can see we got our fuel dot on there. Like I said, I don't know exactly where I'm gonna put it, and I don't know, I might just leave it in the airplane to tell you the truth. So, but that's all set up. It's strapped down with some foam, so it looks really good. It's nice and secure. And these straps, by the way, have the rubber backing. So they're really grippy straps.
Yeah, we'll link that in the description.
Yeah, so everything's looking good. You know, we're just, like I said, just dry fitting everything. And here's our ignition module for the DLE. That's gonna go right on the side of the firewall here. Actually, other way. So the spark plug's not down there. So it's gonna go right here with some Velcro. DLE doesn't give you any tabs or anything, so we're just gonna Velcro down there, and the Velcro will act as a kind of an isolator pad. Here's all your wires for your ignition stuff. Here's your crankshaft sensor for the timing, battery, tachometer, which we are going with. So we have a DLE tachometer. Give us a RPM readout in the dash, in the cockpit area. For our ignition, we're actually going with a Tech Aero Ultra IBEC. So it's an ignition battery eliminator circuit. So what it does is it eliminates the whole separate battery for your ignition thing. So it's using the battery from the receiver. So it's triple filtered. People have great success with these. These are really cool. So basically, it's an optical kill switch, and it gets rid of that whole separate battery for your ignition. So once you get it all plugged in, we've got a nice bright blue LED where it is. There it is. So this whole wire, the very bright LED, I chose blue. You can choose a bunch of colors, but we're gonna have this up on the dashboard. And basically when the light is on, it's showing you that your ignition is active. So really cool visual way to see that your spark is ready to go. And if you ever have a problem with your throttle servo or anything in flight, or just want to kill it optically, this is an optical kill switch. So you have it assigned to a switch, and they're really handy. So we're gonna go with that. As you can see, it's tiny. And we're gonna just place this somewhere up in the aircraft, maybe in the floor or something, because the wires are all long enough. We've kind of measured, you know, where they all need to go. And but yeah, we're just gonna Velcro that down somewhere so that it's not super visible. But yeah, that's where we're at, guys. So what we're gonna do now is basically we gotta take all this apart. Now there's a couple reasons we're taking all this apart. We're actually gonna switch out the main mounting bolts. I had to order these, some stainless hex 50 millimeters. Good luck finding 50 millimeter stainless at your local hardware store. You can't. So I had to order these, and you can see for our temporary mounting, Mary, if you want to show it, we actually had to find some really cheapo Phillips head 50 millimeters. So those are really cheap. So I was never going to run the engine with those. So that was just for laying it out. So we got to take those off, use the better bolts. We're actually going to flip around these blue spacers. So the face that we machined is up against the big standoff, and then you get the kind of the more beefy part of the blue is up against the firewall. So we got to take it all apart, and then the final reason is I want to seal up this whole wooden mount with just a really light, thin coat of epoxy. So we're going to take all that apart and seal it up. Let's do it. All right, so we got the motor all torn apart, and you can see the bare engine mount again. So we have all our holes drilled, all our little relief cuts, everything that we need to mount to it. We have all that set up, so we're gonna do a quick seal up. Now, really all you gotta do is the face here, but while I have it, I'm just gonna seal it all up. Now, a real common technique is just use some epoxy and thin it down with alcohol, but I actually have some penetrating epoxy from working on our boat, our big boat. So anyway, it's super thin out the gate. This is from Total Boat. The labels are all messed up.
Leaked a little bit.
Yeah, it leaked a little bit in transit. But anyway, it's penetrating epoxy. It's for literally penetrating into wood and sealing up old wood or rotten wood on full-size boats. So it's really cool. But anyway, it's not cheap though. So it's just cheaper to buy regular epoxy. But we got it. We're gonna use it. It's already thinned down. So we're gonna mix up just a little bit, and I'm gonna hold it in here. So really, like I said, really you only need to do the face. So I'm just gonna use this thing to hold it. So this is a 24-hour cure. So, we're gonna do this up, and then we'll have to come do it, work on it tomorrow. So another real cool thing about this, I'm rambling on about epoxy, is when you buy these specific boat epoxies, these pumps are calibrated for the correct ratios. So you literally just do one pump. So one pump of each, and that's it. That's your measurement. You can see it's a 2-to-1 ratio for this penetrating epoxy. Enough rambling about epoxy here.
Let's get started.
So one pump. I think I might need 2. One more. There we go. I forgot to grab a popsicle stick. So this stuff does get warm, you know, like all epoxy. It's got an exothermic reaction. It's real thin. You can see how thin it is right off the...
Oh, it's super watery.
So it's already thinned for you. And it mixes real nice because of how thin it is, so you don't really have to scrape it out of the corners like normal. We'll still stir it up for a while.
And it will definitely melt that plastic.
Yeah, if you let it just sit in here, it melts the plastic, but hopefully we're gonna brush most of this on. Start in the hard spots here.
Ready?
All right, it's all done. Let's let it dry. All right, so we pulled the motor mount out of the little vice jaw there. It is all sealed up. You can see it's got a nice coat of that penetrating epoxy on it. It's nice and sealed up too, so it's gonna strengthen that wood and prevent it from the fuel. So let's get this thing all put back together. So now we gotta bolt it all back up. This is hopefully gonna be the final time we use the spacers and everything. So we're gonna be using the Loctite too, some blue Loctite on all the bolts. And remember, this time we're flipping these around because we had them, the machine face, we had it against the wood. This time we're gonna flip it around so the more solid part is on the wood. And that's gonna be like that. It's gonna be a little stronger, I feel like. But yeah, let's get this bad boy all back together. All right, everybody, so we were trying to screw in the servo to those raised balsa blocks on the throttle servo. Remember how we had to raise it? And I made a mistake. I actually used balsa, and it's just way too soft of wood. I was kind of worried about that, but that's what I had on hand. But anyway, it's not working. The servo screws are pulling the balsa apart, and it's not gonna work. So we gotta cut those balsa tabs out, those raised blocks, and then I gotta put in some harder wood. So we're gonna do some surgery, more setbacks.
Well, that was fun.
All right, guys, so this thing is a dream. If you don't have one of these multi-tools, these are just perfect for flush cuts. So without this thing, cutting those tabs out would have been a nightmare. I don't even know how I would have done it with the hard epoxy and everything, but it took like probably a minute total of just positioning this in different angles, and this thing's amazing. This is just one of the Harbor Freight ones, the Bauer version, but amazing. We got these things out and in perfect flush cuts. So I had to make a couple cuts like that, but anyway, let's vacuum up our mess and get some new harder wood in there. All right, so we got our new wood riser tabs all epoxied in for the throttle servo. They're just 5-minute epoxy. We're letting it dry real quick. I got the holes drilled for the actual mounting the servo and some CA in there. So while that's just finishing curing, we're gonna work on the ignition module here on the motor mount. So we've kind of decided where we want to put it. You can see we've got some lines here. Kind of one thing about the DLE ignition box, there's no tabs that you can't just screw it directly on with a pad. So it's just a box. So you got to kind of come up with a way to attach this. So we're gonna use some Velcro, which is gonna provide the vibration isolation. And we have clearance for the motor bolts mount up to the airplane, so it should be good. So let's get some Velcro on here. So now,
let me assist you there.
yeah, it's just, so these hole right here is where the actual bolt goes through, so we want to make sure the wire kind of straddles that spot. So something like that is gonna be perfect. There you go. And then down here, you know, the spark plug wire clears that bolt hole, so yeah, this will be perfect. So there, so you can
stable.
Oh yeah, so you can see the vibrations. You know, it's gonna the Velcro mount is gonna
Dampen it.
you know, dampen those vibrations. You don't want it mounted directly hard. That you want to isolate some vibration here. All right, so all the epoxy's dry. Let's try to slip that servo in. Get these rods and the engine mounted up.
Oh, nice.
All right, there are our new tabs. This is gonna be way better. Right, so we got our throttle servo all screwed in. Looks amazing. I'm glad those two balsa strips failed earlier because they would have failed at some point, you know, flying or whatever, and the screws would have pulled out. So I'm glad they did it on the bench, and we re-epoxied in some harder wood. So now it's super solid. The throttle servo is super solid. So I'm very happy the way this came out now. We're ready to put this engine in, but before we do that, you gotta do the fuel tank. So we're gonna put the fuel tank back on here. A couple things going on here. We got our Velcro straps. Mary got them out. These are some Apex. I forget the length, but I'll look them up and we'll link them for you. These are really nice straps because they have the rubber, the backing, so they grab the fuel tank like really good. So what we're gonna do is get these these straps ready to go. So yeah, they go like this. So we'll go down. Let's get this thing mounted up. You can see we got the fuel tank all set up. These nice Apex straps with the rubber back, holding it really nice. Foam pad. We got the vent line wrapped around the back. It's just extra vent, and it's hooked up to the carburetor through the main supply. And then here's our fuel dot for the fill. And then this is a vent that's going to come out the cowl at the bottom. We'll probably cut a little extra off here once we get it finalized. But it's looking good, guys. We got all our wires kind of just tidied up here for now, just so they don't get in the way. Let's slide this in and officially mount it up. Here's our 4 bolts. We're gonna put the Loctite on them. What we do have to do, we have to slide the choke rod into that choke mount and hook up the throttle rod as we slide this in. So let's see if we can get that. First, I'm gonna put this through.
Are you gonna need my help?
Probably.
Okay, well, let me set this up then. So with the foam pad, we made it sit too high. You can see there.
It's so close, but the fuel tank is still touching the dashboard, and I don't want that. I want it to be isolated on the foam pad, not touching any part of the fuselage. So I'm gonna cut off the bottom of the dashboard. Got some more fitment issues. Gonna slice off a little bottom of the dashboard here. Got a nice sharp razor. This is pretty thin dashboard material. I was gonna use that that vibratory tool, but I'm gonna try just making some cuts with the razor here. Mary had a good point. It's just soft balsa. So a few slices like this, and it should kind of come off. It's definitely the safer. Nice.
Let me see.
That looks good. I like it. That was the right call. So you can see it's not touching the tank anymore. Perfect. Just a couple slices with the razor knife and it took off that little bottom hump right where it said not for navigation. Okay, so that was good. Another fitment issue solved in the XCub saga. All right guys, we're gonna mount the tachometer now. So here's the tachometer lead and here's our DLE tachometer. This is separate, it does not come with the engine. So we're gonna mount it, I think I'm gonna mount it kind of right on the floor right here. It's big bright red LEDs. So when we're tuning the engine or the carburetor or whatever, we're gonna be standing above the airplane, so we're gonna be able to look down through the window. It's gonna be pretty visible right here. I think just have it kind of right there on the floor. And this one does have 2 little screw tabs, so it should be pretty easy to mount. Let me find 2 screws for this and screw it into the floor. All right guys, so Mary found 2 wood screws for our tachometer. I'm gonna just kind of push it down and it's gonna make 2 marks, and then I'll use a little pin vise or something to, but yeah, we're gonna have it right here. I think it's gonna be perfect. Just kind of, just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, something you look at when you're setting the engine RPMs or whatever. All right, Mary's got a little pin vise set up here. Just making 2 pilot holes. We'll screw the tachometer down. And we got the lead, run it. Well, actually, let's get the one lead here first. Tachometer.
Is it gonna be long enough?
I think. Just a matter of getting my hand up there.
So we got an extension.
I got a little 6-inch extension on hand. It's gonna be perfect for this. I was saving it for a special day. And here it is. Black to black or brown to brown or whatever you wanna call it, dark color to dark color. And there we go, it's plugged in. Okay, tachometer wires run. Can't try it yet because the engine's not running. But right now what we're gonna do, we have to hook up the ignition. So we have not even messed with this yet. So we're gonna hook up the Ultra IBEC, get a test run going. Our goal is to get it all plugged in and get this blue light active. So if this blue light can come on with the flick of a switch on my transmitter, it means, the ignition module is hot. Kind of a word of caution, do not turn the motor over when this ignition is active. So if this blue light is on, it means that this is gonna produce electricity when you pass this magnet past the Hall sensor. So if you're active and you do not have a spark plug, this is the danger. If you don't have a spark plug in, this box has nowhere to send the electricity. So you could very well fry your box. So if you got this active, don't start turning the motor over, unless you have a spark plug in there and it's ready to spark. So just kind of a word of caution. But we're gonna get this all hooked up and just kind of a test run. I'm gonna keep this magnet over here just in case Mary decides to turn it.
Oh yeah, go wide.
All right, so first things first here. Let's go, we gotta tip the airplane up because remember all the receivers are on the bottom. So just slowly tip this up. There we go, it'll just sit like that. And like I said, we're doing a dry run here. So I'm just gonna plug this into channel 7. Here's our big mess down here. Okay, we'll plug this in, ignition to the ignition. Remember, we don't have any batteries or anything plugged in yet, so just that. Okay, blue light was, now we gotta get a battery, which is right here. Remember, we have a dual redundancy battery setup, so we can plug into either battery. All right, guys, moment of truth. Let's plug this all in. I got my switches all programmed. You can see I got disarm. Well, there's armed, and disarm. So got the switch all programmed. I chose channel 7. You guys can choose whatever you want for ignition. Let's plug a battery in here. We got dual batteries, so it really doesn't matter which side it plugs in. All right, both receivers are on. Here's our satellite. The main receiver's in there. Okay, let's see if this blue light comes on when I hit arm.
Woo!
Oh boy. There we go. It actually works. I'm actually surprised that worked on the first time. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy because, like I said, this is our first time doing gas and ignitions and all this, but yeah, so it works. The 3-position switch, I have 2 positions as the same, just arm and arm. And then bottom is arm too. That way I can just flick it on, and now in flight, if I have an emergency, I just flick this big one up. And disarms, and that will kill the engine.
Yeah, you used the big switch so that you wouldn't hit it by accident.
Yep. So yeah, you're flying around, and if you need to shut the engine off, you know, if your throttle servo goes full and you have full throttle or whatever, shut the engine off and you can land it. And you know, of course you gave yourself a dead stick, but it's better than having a full throttle runaway plane. So anyway, that works. So now we can finally start kind of buttoning up all these wires here, and we're gonna put this blue light on the dashboard. There's actually a cool little spot up there. I don't know if I'll be able to get it all the way up there where that blue dot is.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's right up against the top.
Maybe. But
we'll figure out, we'll find somewhere on the dash that'll look cool. All right, let's move on. All right, everybody, we got the Aero Ultra IBEC all wired in. We have some of this extra foam, and we created like a wrap around that, the Aero, so it's kind of floating in this foam. And then Mary, if you show, we set the foam ball Aero thing down in this cavity, and we filled it with more foam, so it's really padded. That way no vibration can get to the IBEC,
there it is.
the battery eliminator circuit, ignition battery eliminator circuit.
So this is it right there, and we wrapped it with a little Velcro loop wrap.
Yeah.
And then this is just regular foam.
Yeah, so then the floor just sits over that. Here's the 2 battery leads. This is the wing harnesses right here. They're just hanging out the window. And then back there, we have our satellite receiver mounted way back there as far as we could reach. Mary had to do it. She's way more patient than me, but you can see the satellite receiver is in a foam wrap also. And you can see the 2 antennas are kind of pointing up in the air at about a 45-degree angle. So that's our satellite receiver, remember guys. So you want it down in the tail as far as you can get. So we're looking really good. And this wire right here is just it's the light in the rudder. We still haven't hooked that up yet. But for the most part, all the wiring's done. Getting pretty excited here. We're gonna put the floor in. So let's put this in. This just kind of slips into 2 notches there. There, floor's in, kind of vibrates. It's just 2 tabs over there that clip into the wall, so it's kind of, you know, whatever. But okay, done.
Oh, we want to show them the little light.
Yeah.
So it's right here.
So let me get the transmitter out again. All right, so we got the transmitter on. Let's show you the light on the dashboard. So you already saw the light earlier, but now that it's on the dashboard, let's see. So, ooh, I saw our tachometer flash. All right, ready? Let's see if this thing arms up.
Whoa!
That's cool.
That's pretty bright.
Oh, you can see our tachometer.
Yeah.
So it's not reading, obviously, because the engine isn't running, but that is at 0, so that's a really good sign. And then here's our choke. So we got a choke, ignition, tachometer. Pretty cool.
Yeah, liking it.
And that servo buzzing, that's just the throttle servo. I gotta work on the endpoints a little bit, but yeah, we're getting close, guys. And we're just gonna leave that there. Getting close. All right, I'm gonna button this up for now because we are done.
We don't need to go in there for now.
In here for now. We're gonna do the tow release servo later. We'll do the lights later, but you know, pretty much the main controls are done and the servos are done. All right, guys, so we're trying to wrap up a couple more things up front. We put the spark plug on, little baby NGK, comes with the DLE engine. There's a 14 millimeter size clipped on the spark plug wire. It's pretty strong, to be honest with you. We're gonna do a cowl test. So it does hang below the airplane, but you can see this cowl is huge. It's got a big area for exhaust. So we're gonna tuck up the wire a little bit, do a test. Oh yeah, no issues. So it's gonna be about right there. You can see the
Looks real
right
good.
in the middle. There's our vent line. So yeah, we'll trim some of that off towards the end.
Oh yeah.
That's about where it's gonna be, because you can see the face, the drive face right here. The spinner plate is gonna go against that, and there'll be about a little gap here. So that's about where the cowl is gonna be.
Okay.
So let's do a kind of a dry window fitment too, because these are the next steps. These are the windows and the cowl. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah,
Oh,
plenty of space
it's
there.
perfect, yeah.
All right, everybody, so I think this is a good place to stop. We got a lot done, actually. We're towards the end of the plane where it's a lot of tedious little stuff. So we got the motor mounted up to the firewall, fuel lines run, we took it off of the firewall, epoxied the firewall, put it all back on the firewall, hooked the fuel lines back up, ran it all through the firewall, hooked the choke back up, hooked the throttle up. We had to redo those balsa blocks. They're not balsa anymore, so we had to re-epoxy that in. Fuel tank, we put the blue light in, we hooked the ignition up, tachometers installed, tons of wire management. We got our fuel dot run, we got the floor in, satellite receiver in, cowl kind of dry fitted, spark plug in. So we're looking really good. This thing is coming along. I think that's a good place to stop before we get into these big things here. But we're gonna continue on this next video tomorrow. We're gonna keep working on this, guys. We're gonna try to hammer this thing out. We want it done, we want it flying. We're tired of giving you guys excuses. We want it up in the air. So we're gonna end this video here, get it up for you guys to watch. And if you got any questions, as usual, always ask us. And thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. And once again, really sorry we had this big delay with this airplane. But like I said in the beginning of the video, kind of underestimated the size of this plane. But we're having a blast and it's coming along great. We're still here. Keep on watching, guys. Thanks again.